Well, Bret, welcome to the show. We have Bret Caretsky, the co-founder and CEO of Unicorn, on with us today. Bret, why don't you give our audience a little bit of background into who you are and how you ended up starting this company called Unicorn? Because it's so fascinating. Right now, you're raising a seed round, and it's it's one of the most interesting companies that I've seen in the last few weeks, especially. So I want to dig into your years in college and what you were thinking about at the time.
Great. That's awesome. A great start. Jake, thank you so much for having me on today. Really appreciate it. Lends some insight into college. First of all, I love what you're doing. If I was smart enough in college to kind of understand the world as much as Jake, I don't know if I'd be in the position that I'm in now at 36, but I do think that college kind of was a place for me to kind of just to get to know myself a little bit better, to figure out, what type of person that I wanted to be when I got to be 36, 46, 56, but more importantly, what kind of person I wanted to be that day, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I woke up in college, I'm just kind of like, okay, what am I going to be today?
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, I'm figuring out, right, okay, well, what do I want to be when I'm 46, 56, et cetera? But still, I have the same mentality as I kind of always did. I I work hard at whatever I'm doing. When I was in college, I was an athlete. So I went to the University of Maryland when I got out of high school. I was a scholarship athlete. So I played lacrosse at the University of Maryland. And obviously with that comes like a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Class was probably like third or fourth on the list. Yeah, so the University of Maryland was an incredible ride. I went to Final Four, quarterfinals in lacrosse. I played in the 100th anniversary Hopkins versus Maryland game.
Wow.
Some really cool stuff. I met some incredible people. That was right after USA tryouts when I was
Mm-hmm.
at the U19s. And then I transferred. Actually, my brother was going to, it's kind of a little bit of a pivot, right? I do that sometimes in my life. I'm like, okay, this might be going all right, but it could be going better. So I'm going to get rid of that and I'm going to focus on something different.
Well, good for you. I mean, Maryland and I guess all of the East Coast schools, they all have just filthy lacrosse programs, at least as far as I know. So, I mean, good for you for making that decision. So, what made you decide to go to UMass?
So my brother was leaving high school at the time, and he was going to University of Massachusetts to play lacrosse. Also, my playing time at Maryland wasn't kind of like what I envisioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Although it improved my sophomore year, from my freshman to sophomore year, it still wasn't kind of perfect the way I wanted it. I did have incredible friendships at Maryland that I left behind. I still hold them true to me to this day. But it turned out to be a blessing. I went to the University of Massachusetts. It gave me even a bigger network. So I have friends from both schools, to University of Maryland, University of Massachusetts. I got to play on two different teams. I actually ended up playing with my brother. And I had hardship when I went to UMass too. I did some stupid things over the years when I was there. Coach didn't really like it that much, even though he was gracious enough of welcoming me to the team at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a learning experience. I lived off campus when I was at University of Massachusetts. I arrived there with my dog.
Right on. Right on.
It was incredible. So yeah, we obviously, right, just a lot of discipline, like, other than the things that you kind of do that are outside of being disciplined, just staying focused and working hard. And obviously waking up 5 a.m., pretty much 6 a.m. every day,
Mm-hmm.
practice and lift and run and train and then go to class and come home and study. It kind of gave me a lot of discipline. despite whether or not, I missed a few classes here and there or.
Who's counting anyways, though? Who's counting anyways? So come 2007, you're standing at UMass, I presume, with a diploma in your hand. And what were you thinking? I mean, did you want to just start your own business, or were you just trying to find a job somewhere? What was going through your head?
So I was a communications major, economics minor. So I kind of I approached my businesses from like a PR standpoint from the very beginning, outside of kind of just like racing out of the gate like a nutcase. But no, and when I had my diploma, I was set on finance. I mean, I wanted to get into finance so bad. I wanted to live, breathe, and work in finance like more than anybody. I wanted to be in New York. I wanted to work on Wall Street. It was when I got into it, I liked it at first, and then I kind of was like, you know what, this kind of just isn't for me every day. And I had all my friends were in it. Go to the city and hang out with all my friends that were kind of working in finance and go out late, obviously work hard and, play hard kind of mentality, which is, I don't even live that life anymore at all, right? I tend to work hard, but I definitely don't play hard. And, I don't know how hard I work either. I kind of just work. Yeah.
It's hard to compare it to anything else because it's probably just automatic for you at this point. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm not really a big play hard kind of guy. But I do, and I work quite a bit, and I really enjoy what I do, and I'm able to meet a ton of cool people like yourself along the way. So you had finance gigs for a few years there. I mean, I guess when you got into it, it was right around 07. So 07, 08, 09, probably not the best time to be in finance. So you spent a few years there, and then you started this thing called the Montauk Juice Factory. Where did this come from?
Right. So I worked in finance for years, and then I went into 3 different industries. I worked in finance at Morgan Stanley, and then at a small private placement company, and then I worked at United Healthcare in underwriting, and then moved to strategic sales, and then I worked at Turner Construction and was in risk management. So I worked out at like some big companies, and then like alongside some of the department leadership, and had some awesome experiences at all those companies. I managed big accounts at United Healthcare, Morgan Stanley, I'm managing hedge funds, and then at United Healthcare, I was managing big employer accounts. And I left those companies, each of them, for the same reason. I was just bored. I mean, I didn't like them. I was kind of just like numb from working at these companies. And like I was very much not in touch with myself. So Montauk Juice Factory came out of like a time of my life where I was kind of having some troubles focusing on staying employed at work and like wanting to be at work. And like, you know what, I'm going to leave this company after I do a little bit of banging around on trying to figure out how to start my own company. So I kind of essentially built Montauk Juice Factory at my desk at Turner Construction. And yeah, I got into kind of the whole thing. I got a store, I got a design team, I found a business partner, launched a website, I bought a truck. But it really started, I was delivering juice like on my skateboard, on my bike at first, out of my basement, and cold pressed juice. So this stuff is like labor intensive, right? Like you are literally pressing juice like in my basement, like fennel, carrots, beets, apples, and we'd have them all lined up in the fridge. I still have pictures of them, like all the different colors in mason jars. And then we would combine them into recipes. And then we come up with like a fun drink name, like, oh, we're going to call that one like Green Mama. We're going to call that one like Liquid Sunshine. We're going to call, that one like the dope beat. We're going to call that one like bonfire cider, on and on and on. And then it all operated under the Montauk Juice kind of umbrella. And I was like, I'm like a psychopath. So I'm like, I got to trademark all these names, like, I'm like, all right, Brett, slow it down, right? So yeah, and the Montauk Juice Factory was like, I approached it from like the PR side. So we tried to kind of like just be fun with PR, write a sick blog, like have a fun, like creative, cool Instagram, and people showed up for us. I mean, I always had family parties, and my business partner, Madeline, she's like an angel on earth. Basically, it was just grew up in a house that's kind of always had like means to celebrate an occasion, and people then showed up for Madeline and I and my family, and my brother was involved too, like heavily. He just has a different approach to things than I do. So it was nice having him like on the team and stuff. Yeah.
What do you feel like was the biggest thing that you learned at Montauk?
Oh, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. Delegating. I learned to fail and like be okay with that, right? Like I learned, wow, okay, this is hard. This is totally out of my control too. Montauk's a 12-week season, so you have to fail quickly, right? Like you open up and it doesn't matter how many people come. With thousands of people come to our store. I mean, the place we'd have years where we did almost $500,000. Like the place was open for just a few months. But then we had to close it up. And then the next year we opened, like maybe we did half that and we close it up, right? So it's about the open and close and understanding all the moving parts that are going into that, and then communicating along like just a linear timeline of like, it's a 12-month year, but maybe you're starting in March and then you're right from a standpoint of like the machine getting up to the point where you get to open the doors, and then you're winding it down in like August, late August, September, October. So yeah.
Right on. It sounds like a really cool experience. And from all the drinks that you guys are doing, I'm sure there were a ton of them that were just absolutely phenomenal. The best sellers that you had. And there were probably a few of them that did not do so well. So what was the difference there? Like, what did you recognize in your market that like when something was super successful, what was it at Montauk that made that drink super successful?
Oh, great question. It was always like people are fascinated with aesthetic, like how things look. Taste is really important, but like aesthetic is everything. And then like in the juice space, it's all about like alkalinity. So people like the real raw, like juice kind of people who are just so into like health and wellness in the Hamptons are like really focused on like sugar, how much sugar is in this thing. Like, even if it's like natural sugar, like good sugar is healthy for you. But most people, even that, like they want an all greens drink, like something with no fruit in it, no ginger even, literally just like all greens. Something like super alkaline. So that was our Green Mama. It was a fantastic drink. It was super fun. And then outside of that, it was always, like aesthetic color. Like we made all of our beverages look exactly like they did in the photo. Like they actually were perfect, like color coordinated. So we focused really on what we were laying out for people, how we laid it out for them. And we didn't cut, even if our margin was very low, it was a store, right? Like it's like almost a showroom or marketing and branding and using different trade dresses and getting creative and doing favors for people, like somebody wants this in their drink. Okay, fine. Like just growing our consumer base, talking to people and being fun about what we're doing, like not so serious. And that kind of helped us have like a pretty like reputation of being like kind of cool, you know.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. And in the middle of all that, there's this other thing that you both started working on called The End in Brooklyn. So what was that, and why'd you do it? I mean, you had Montauk going, and it was, I guess it was only 12 weeks out of the year that you were running that thing when it was open. But where did this idea of the story open up in Brooklyn come from?
So we would like, I would like, so I met a ton of people in Montauk. I mean, that place like blew my network up. Like, I'm saying I have the biggest network in the world. I'm just saying for me, I'm very much like an introvert at that point in my life. Like, as surprising that might sound, like I don't like a ton of attention all the time. And I guess that's why I've always, like my business partner, Madeline, always handles like more of the outward facing stuff. Marketing, branding, people, and I just focused on the business side. However, it blew my network up and I became more comfortable with people. So I met somebody and I was in a coffee shop because we would deliver some of our product to different shops that we really loved that wanted to carry our Montauk juices. And that kind of gave me, oh my God, I can sell this stuff to like other companies and they're going to buy it from me and pay me. And then I was like, you know what, this is incredible. Let's keep growing. And I was like, let's open up another one of our own shops, but I didn't want to make a juice bar because we're only making juice at one store. Let's open up a coffee shop and sell our juices there, bring in other products too. We did other products at Montauk Juice Factory too, like apothecary items and things like that. We had like deodorant paste, lip balm, like tea, face masks, all like organic, like incredibly like beautiful products that were showcased in, you know, Hampton's magazine and Vogue and all this crazy stuff. And we're like, oh, well, we have great products. Let's open up a coffee shop and sell them all there. And it'll be like a little bit more of an intimate setting. It's Brooklyn and Williamsburg. Let's try to find a cool space. So I met a guy at a coffee shop and he's just like, hey man, I have a coffee shop, a potential coffee shop in Williamsburg. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll go take a ride out there and meet you. So I met him out there, and I mean, this place was beyond a dump. I mean, a dump would be called, is nice. Like the dumps these days are much nicer. And I was like, I walked front and I looked around, and the subways are like right there, and there's like a bridge going over Williamsburg, which is the BQE. It runs over it bridges the gap of East Williamsburg and like hipster, rich Whole Foods Williamsburg, right? So we were like right in the center. We're like more East Williamsburg, so it's still like, to me, in my eyes, like much more like cool, like actually cool, like not like, oh, I live in, you know, skyscraper on the East River of Williamsburg cool. Like, oh, this is like old school, like culture of Williamsburg, like the Italian neighborhood of Williamsburg, like true Williamsburg. So it was sandwiched coincidentally between the Rainbow Bagel Shop, which is like famous Williamsburg bagel shop on Instagram, and then the Milk Bar, Momofuku's Milk Bar, which is also kind of like another like food haven. So we're right in the center between the two, on the corner by the subways. I'm like, I don't care if this place is the biggest dump in the world. We're getting this building. Like, I had already made up my mind. Like, as soon as I saw it, and it was the first place I saw it. It's not like I shopped around. I didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't have a lot of time. I felt like I'm like, I need to just like move on this. So I just did. I literally slept in my Jeep and got Airbnbs, and when I was lucky, and just hammered it out with a couple of friends. My brother, Madeline, even my dad helped. And we just kind of did it. And the place, the first 6 months, all we did was just hand out free coffee to everyone that walked by. I mean, like, we didn't sell anything. I would bring my juice. I'd even hand out free juice there. Like, it happened for like 6 months before Madeline and I were like, okay, we have a menu now. So we had a menu, and we didn't really know what to think. I'm like, oh, we need to make like a superfood latte menu. And Maddie's like, okay, I got this. And she just kind of like did it. And we not only did it, we did it like very well. We launched like a small story in the New York Times through one of our very good friends, Lauren Hanna. And the article went like haywire. Like, you know, I can't explain that or anything. Our Instagram account kind of went haywire at that point. Like, we went from like 2,000 followers to like 9,000 follower or 8,000 followers in like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and just off like a couple of posts.
Yeah. So you got a lot of early on PR.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that paid dividends in the first few months and years that you were there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's where you developed the idea of the unicorn, right? Right.
So we developed the idea in Montauk. Because we actually had a kitchen there in Montauk.
Right.
So we would like do we'd buy like all our ingredients, mix them up, and did a lot of experimenting. And then we were like mixing our cold pressed juices with like non-dairy milk. And then we'd steam it in a cup, like, so it'd be like a juice latte in a cup. And we were like, it's not really like, it tastes okay, but it's kind of like weird. Like, it's a weird sell.
Yep.
So then we were like, okay, let's get some powders. And instead of using juice, we'll use powders that were still bright color and healthy. And we were like, let's steam those in a cup. And we were like, Maddie's doing it. And she's just like super creative. She's like almost frighteningly creative. You're like, what is going on in your mind? Like, she basically looked at it like, okay, how do I make the coolest looking beverages that taste great from things on Amazon? Like, so in her mind, she deconstructed the concept well, I guess, reverse engineered what a unicorn would look like in a cup, and a mermaid, and we had like other drinks too, like CBD latte, which is actually our #1 seller at that store. People went crazy. This is 2016.
Yeah, this is on like the front end of the whole CBD craze that's been going on the last few years.
Yeah, so the unicorn is where we launched it at the end. So we kind of say it was like made in Montauk but born in Brooklyn, right?
Yep.
And that drink changed my like understanding of people again, like of what actually taps into that psychological, behavioral, you know, striking a chord with people. I mean, if you were, it's beyond even I can even explain it. I mean, we're on World Star and like every press outlet you could ever think of. I mean, Buzz Chew, you know, Perez Hilton, like even the stupid like bloggy stuff. That was kind of like, we had a unicorn, like a horse come to our store dressed up like a unicorn. It's like
An actual horse?
actual horse, man.
Holy
Like
cow.
from like a top news agency, right? Like
So
CNN
strange.
sent a horse to our store. Literally. And all these things happen, right? You forget, like PR starts at like 4:30, 5 in the morning. Like that's when then they're like, okay, where is everybody? I'm like, what is happening right now? I just launched a coffee shop. Like now I have all this kind of stuff going on, and it was everything going on except for what should be going on, right? Which is running a business, right? So you're kind of like, oh, how do you handle all this? In a tiny, this place was 200 square feet, right? Like it was a hole in the wall. So it's also a staff thing too, like you have staff there, they're young, 19 and 20. Like, yeah, it's cool at first, but it gets kind of annoying and boring for people. But at the same time, right? So yeah, that was the place where Unicorn kind of took off.
So, I mean, it took off to the point, and you believed in it so much that you started building a business around this one concept of the unicorn. And that's what you're doing right now. As I mentioned earlier on, you're raising a seed round right now. So fill us in on exactly what you're hoping to do with Unicorn in the next few months and years ahead.
All right. So for us, it was just giving it you straight from like my business side. Like I'm being fun. I'm on a podcast. I love it. So like just business side, right? We're like in a marketing, innovation, and research development phase, trying to figure out kind of what innovation is worth actually investing into, right? So, and that's what we were kind of doing the whole time, but in a fun, creative way. And not taking ourselves too seriously while doing that, or worrying about so much about money, but right, you want to be able to develop a concept that is actually worth developing. So we thought Unicorn was that exact concept. So in 2019, Madeline and I shut our stores, focused up, like, okay, we're going to go after CPG, and we're going to go after licensing. So we're going to have like a two-pronged business model. We're going to develop our IP more, and allow other companies to all open up their doors to Unicorn drinks, just kind of like how Starbucks did. So we noticed when Starbucks launched the Unicorn Frappuccino, we're like, okay, well, why doesn't everybody launch Unicorn drinks? And we'll kind of just be here and focus on the marketing of that. So that would enable us to kind of like enrich our partnership programs. And at the same time, allow us to kind of develop our own concept in terms of Unicorn more. And what that means to us, like what our look of Unicorn would be. I have no problem with other companies selling Unicorn drinks. Like I want other companies to sell Unicorn drinks. Like that is part of our business model. Like, and I want them to sell their own versions of Unicorn drinks, like in their supply chains. And I want to see the world selling Unicorn drinks, but I want to be able to control that lever so that we essentially, become like a marketing partnership for these other companies. So that's my vision. Like imagine your Instagram page, right? Like all different Unicorn drinks from like some of the nation's largest coffee companies, some of the nation's juice bars, restaurants. Yeah, I mean, it is literally endless what you can do with Unicorn, like, and that IP. And then for ourselves, just kind of develop, very simple, our own CPG branded products, what we like in terms of Unicorn. We're a healthy beverage company, or at least we want people to think that we are. And, yeah, just kind of develop them in a very small footprint over the next 6 to 12 months. We have a pilot run coming up in late August. And that will get out to about 100 stores in Brooklyn, some of the boroughs through direct store distribution, very simple. Just a little bit of marketing, continuing to develop our sales and marketing for licensing, and focus up on probably legal and you know, actual proposals for some of these licensing agreements that we're looking at, and to develop our team and keeping the culture cool and calm. You know, I think we'll do some hiring probably in Q1, Q2 next year. Stay organized. I mean, organization is the whole name of the game. If you're a startup, man, you can't be going fast. You need to just slow down, get people to listen to what you're saying, and show them that you care about what you're doing, and not move fast. Because when you move fast, things unravel quick, or can. I've learned that, right, firsthand. Too much exposure is not great for a startup. Even if you think that it is, you need to just be like emotionless almost to everything that comes your way, and just absorb, and absorb more, and then make a small kind of pivot and decision. And yeah, we're in our seed round. We're gonna be doing some fundraising, and that's going to be really, really integral to kind of our success, like any business, especially our business model. I mean, we're not an engineering firm or an architectural firm, right? So it's all about raising capital and communicating with investors so that they trust you, and they also have a good experience when they do join your team. And we want great investors that understand CPG, but also, right, understand that, you know, we're not the kind of company that's going to be running at a negative EBITDA for 5 years, right? Like, we're just like a small company that's focused on running profitably through licensing and having our own small footprint of our products that can be developed over time. I'm going to be doing this for a while. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, I need to exit this company and, you know, go through like 4 rounds of fundraising and blow through 5 million seed round in 12 months. You do see beverage companies growing that way predominantly. So beverage companies will grow, like, they'll go through a seed round cash in like 12 months. And you're like, what just happened? And then they're doing a bridge loan. What is going on? Right, to sell a beverage. And then all of a sudden you see they go through like 3 rounds or a Series C, and they're getting like a 200 million valuation because they have distribution, but their product actually sucks. So, like, yeah, it's kind of odd. And not to discount or discredit my competitors, but yeah, I mean, I just think the beverage industry is predominantly really dry, and the beverages are kind of all the same. And it's kind of difficult being a unicorn in that type of environment, where you see this like really fast, you know, celebrity-backed beverages that shoot out of the gate real quick and have good distribution nationally. I mean, not to say that I don't want that. I think I do. But like, I think we're going to end up doing it a little bit differently and a little bit more exciting. And I think that
the unicorn way.
Yeah, I think people are really underestimating this company. Like, and it has to do with us being really creative about what we're doing and a little bit different. But I think, yeah, if you look at like the licensing end of this idea, it could potentially change beverage forever. And how beverage companies actually expand and what they actually focus on. It's just, we are definitely an outlier. Like, and I'll always consider myself an underdog. When I was in sports, I'm like, always like, okay, fine, like, count me out, that's fine. Eventually, like, the world will kind of understand what I'm doing here. And I know you're a believer, man.
Well, right on, Brett. Well, yeah, I'm excited for you. Keep me posted on how that trial launch goes in August. Last question I have for you. This is one that I ask every guest that comes on the show. What is one thing um, in a marketing context that is overlooked right now, but is highly effective as it applies to businesses?
It's a great question. Just being genuine and organic, and not really going after paid ads. I haven't paid for any ads ever. Um, I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. I just think that it's down the line, and people are like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna like come up with a $50,000 ad spend budget," and it's like, dude, your programming looks like just cold and dry and forced instead of just allowing it to happen naturally, organically, and then slowly moving to paid ads after some good PR. Like I get it, but you're paying for ads. That's like putting a blindfold on, and then 50 yards away there's a target, and you're just throwing darts at the target with a blindfold on. There's so much bandwidth in this world on the internet, and there's so much competition that it's just like exceptionally difficult to get traction on e-commerce for the long term through paid ads. And yeah, I mean, trust your team. Don't try to do everything yourself. Um, Trust the people around you. Allow them to work it. Allow them to write your blog. And get an agency. Don't take on all the responsibility yourself. It's not really the best way to do it. But that's kind of my advice. Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks, Brett. I appreciate you coming on the show. And I hope people are able to get as excited about Unicorn as we are. So, meantime, have a great week, and I appreciate you coming on.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on, Jake. You're the best. Please keep your eye on Unicorn, and we'll continue to stay in touch, all right?
Right on. Sounds good, Brett. Take care.
Bye, Jake.